Hello and welcome back to the Mists of Pandaria beta. My name is Ponehammer and today we'll be going over the Mage class. I actually switched to a Mage at the beginning of Cataclysm. I don't know why, but all my other classes were melee. I played a DK, I played a Paladin, I played a Warrior, so I decided to make a caster. I don't know why I chose a Mage. Honestly, it was literally between Mage or Warlock, and I don't like being completely pet reliant like a Warlock is. I'm sorry, my Warlock players, but that's just the way I am. If it makes you feel better, I loved summoning Necros in Diablo 2, but anyway, we find ourselves here at the Shrine of the Two Moons. This is the Horde city in Mists of Pandaria. I just switched, faction changed in the beta to a Blood Elf. I was a human. I figured, what the hell, they're free. By the way, that's a new mount. It's Flying Cloud. So Index, if you're watching, your Flying Cloud is in the video. It's a new faction. You can get a mount from there. You can also get these mounts. I can't ride them because they give you one, but they don't give you the ability to ride them. Anyway, what was I saying? I'm sorry, I don't remember. So we'll just go into the Mage class. Changes for the Mage class. Arcane Brilliance now gives us 5% crit. And of course, Molten Armor gives us crit. Our armor spells actually have a cast time now, which sucks. But there is a glyph that can reduce it to what it is now, because I think I'm wearing that glyph. And it also increases all the effects of armors by 10%. Just the defensive abilities, not the offensive abilities. So physical damage taken reduced by 16%. Normally it's 6%. I like it, but I'll get into more of it when I get into the glyphs. But as I was saying with the crit, what that does is it makes Fire Mages viable early expansion. Thank God, because I hate being forced to play Frost or Arcane. So I don't care what people say. Fire Mage is definitely the most gear dependent, and you can't do anything without crit. And due to other abilities, Fire Mages are completely viable early game, and I am so happy about it because fire is my favorite. So what's our new ability? Our main new ability from leveling that we get at level 87? Anyway, that is Alter Time. Alter Time is an ability, well, I'm just going to read the tooltip. Alter the fabric time, causing the caster to return to their current location, health, mana, buffs, and debuffs when cast a second time or after 6 seconds. The effect is negated if the caster dies within the 6 seconds before the effect occurs or moves too far away. I've only had a few times to actually use this in PvP groups. I had a few melee people on me and I hit it and run away and blinked and I cast it, and I'll show you it right now. And I'll just push the button because I don't want to wait 6 seconds. And you return back to your normal spot with health and mana. Cool ability. We'll see how overpowered it is because it sounds like it could be in live. Alright, we'll get into the actual specs now. Arcane hasn't really changed much. I'm a huge not fan of Arcane. I hate Arcane. I refuse to play it unless I absolutely have to. And the only time you absolutely have to play Arcane pretty much is when you're raiding. And even then, it's questionable. Blizz did try to make it more fun to play, but in my opinion, they could have done better. What they did was they added the thing called Arcane Charge, which is very similar to the buff we get now from casting Arcane Blast, except you get it from Arcane Blast, Missiles, and Explosion. And Arcane Barrage is what consumes it. So basically you have a 3-button rotation now. Yay. Yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say about Arcane, because I'm sorry, but I hate it. And honestly, due to one of our abilities, you could probably get away with never using Arcane Barrage, because mages don't have mana problems right now. Actually, I don't think any caster DPS has mana problems right now. And Frost. Frost hasn't changed much. A few minor tweaks. Frostbolt Same as it always was, except it now adds a stacking debuff on the enemy that you're attacking that increases, is it Frostbolt, Ice Lance, and Water Elemental damage. Stacks up to 3 times. I can switch real quick and show you. If I can get some mana back. Alright, we'll just cast it right here. Yes, I'm ignoring that proc. But there you go, Frostbolt increases damage by 24%. So Frost is going to be even more of a cannon than it already is. Water Elemental, same as it always has been, except we have a glyph now that I'll show you when we get to the glyphs, because I'm going to try to cover everything really quickly. Fingers of Frost was tweaked a little bit. The way it procs anyway, your Water Elemental only has, or his freeze only procs 1 Frostbolt, or Fingers of Frost, not Frostbolt. And as you can, I'm not going to read the whole tooltip because it's long and I'm lazy. But you can see the tweaks to Fingers of Frost. Basically, it's hard to spam Ice Lance now and it be effective, even though you never could. But with as many Fingers of Frost as you could get, it seemed like it. Ice Lance, unchanged. There's a glyph that can make it split and do AoE damage. Sorry about that phone call. We'll pick back up with Fire. Fire has seen quite a few changes lately. Basically, it's become more viable in main game due to all the abilities we have now. Like, every mage has Shatter, which is awesome. There you go, Insta-crit, Pyroblast. And what I did that from was, as I said, we already have Shatter. Inferno Blast, which replaces our Fire Blast, spreads all of our dots except for Living Bomb, and there is a glyph that you can make it spread Living Bomb. And it is always a crit, which is awesome. Due to that, it actually is another thing that makes Fire Mages viable in early game, which is amazing because I love Fire. It's my favorite one to play. Combustion has seen quite a few changes and I'm not sure if I like it. I love the cooldown from 2 minutes, but I'll go ahead and read this for you. Instantly deals 19,000 more damage than that. Derp, don't have Arcane Brilliance on. Instantly deals 20,000 damage and stuns the target for 3 seconds. Stun sounds a lot more appealing than it actually is because they removed Living Bomb from Combustion. I wish they'd add it back because right now Combustion feels quite underpowered, even though there is a glyph that supposedly increases its damage, and it does, but due to some of the other glyphs you can have, I don't know if it's even viable. Which kind of sucks because Combustion was our main way to burn people down, but now since we have so much way to proc Pyroblasts, we might not need to rely on Combustion as much as we do. Which is a good thing, but I miss my old Combustion, being able to burn down pretty much any kind of healer as long as I kept on them with my Dragon's Breath and my Silence. We'll go move along right on to our talents. Level 15, I like to consider these our casting abilities. Presence of Mind is basically unchanged, and you're probably going to see Arcane Mages using that. They say it's a choice, but you can see they kind of cater to a certain spec. Scorch, same as it always was, except it does more damage now. Not that much more considering I have 368k life, which is insane if you count my ice barrier. Ice Flows, new ability. Basically what it does is lets you cast while moving. You can cast 2 spells while moving. I guarantee you'll see a lot of Frost Mages using this since they can't stay on the move as much as Fire Mages. That's why Fire Mages use Scorch, since our whole rotation is basically insta-casts from procs, and Scorch lets us keep moving. I can just keep going, and yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still abilities I have to stop to cast, but moving right along. Level 30, I consider this our shields, kind of, because there's one ability that's not a shield, and I didn't know what else to call it. Temporal Shield envelops you in a temporal shield for 4 seconds. Damage taken while shielded will be healed back over 6 seconds. The spell is usable while stunned, frozen, incapacitated, fear, or asleep, and is not on a global cooldown. It sounds more appealing than it really is. If Blizzard's watching, I feel that you need to buff this somehow, some way. I'm not exactly sure. Because compared to the other two abilities, this one's kind of useless. I'm sorry to say it, but it really is. Blazing Speed, it's the same as it was, except now it's a button. You push it and activate it. It's on a 25-second cooldown and increases your movement speed by 150% for 1.5 seconds. May only be used when hit by a melee or spell greater than 2% of your total health, or after you kill an enemy that yields experience or honor. This spell may be cast while a cast time spell is in progress and is not on a global cooldown. Basically that means as long as you don't have a global cooldown, you can use it pretty much any time. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of mages are going to use it, but due to all the slowing effects that melees have now, even a paladin, yay, I know people are loving that. Look at my last video. Paladins have a slow now that they're always going to use probably. That's going to be our way to get out of it. We'll have to see how PvP goes. Right now I'm fine using Ice Barrier, but we'll see. Ice Barrier is freaking amazing. Instantly shields you, absorbing 85,000 damage. This was around 100,000 earlier, or maybe I had some buff and didn't know it, and this was a week or so ago. Lasts 1 minute while the shield holds. Spellcasting will not be delayed by damage. Since Ice Barrier now scales with spell power significantly, it almost makes mages a tank, considering how much life we already have, and add almost another 100k on that. We have almost as much life as a tank. It's amazing. Level 45, we'll consider this our CC abilities. A Ring of Frost, it's unchanged except it has a cast time now. That's about it. It's Ring of Frost. Ice Ward places an Ice Ward on a friendly target. When an enemy strikes a target, all enemies within 10 yards will become frozen in place for 5 seconds. One charge lasts 30 seconds. I see uses for this, especially in PvP, but not PvE at all. I see Ring of Frost in PvE, just to help control ads. Ice Ward I'd see in like an arena setting, or maybe even RBGs, and you want to protect your flag carrier, you can throw that on them, and anybody that's damaging him is now stuck in place, and they can't see or avoid it like they can Ring of Frost. Frostjaw is my personal favorite out of the three. It's essentially a Ring of Frost with less time. Silence that freezes the target in place for 8 seconds, lasts half as long. Player versus player. Yeah, Ring of Frost, or Frostjaw, my bad. And from there, you can go into a deep freeze, which I know this is going to sound horrible, especially as a mage, but I do feel Blizzard needs to take deep freeze away from all mages unless they are Frost, because that gives us way too much CC, along with other classes who are getting an insane amount of CC. I mean, rogues already could keep someone locked out. As long as they stayed on that target, they could literally keep someone locked out. And I think, don't get me wrong, I don't play a rogue, I think they're getting another one due to this talent tree. So that's just another way to keep someone locked out. Moving right along to level 60, I'm just going to call this our cooldowns because they vary. Greater Invis, it's a lot like normal Invis, except greater. No, not really. What it does is it takes away our 3-second cast time. Whoops, wrong one. Right now, invisibility has 3 seconds to fade. What greater invisibility does is it takes that away, reduces your damage by 90% while invisible and for 3 seconds after, and removes 2 damage over times effects. I feel it's a little broken right now. I know that sounds weird, but I've had instances where I've removed the dots, I've seen them gone from my debuff bar, and I still get kicked out of it. I feel if they just changed it to all damage over time effects, it'd work a lot better, but that might make it too overpowered. We'll have to see. Cauterize, it's the same, only every mage can have it now. Cold Snap, got a big old nerf, and I don't like it anymore. When activated, this spell finishes the cooldown of your Ice Block, Frost Nova, Cone of Cold, and heals 30% of your health. Usable while stunned, frozen, incapacitated, feared, or asleep. And it is not on a global cooldown. Yeah, basically took the utility out of Frost Mages and their ability to blow someone up completely. So we'll have to see. I'm not a fan of the ability. I could see most mages, even in PvP, using Cauterize or Greater Invis. 75 is our bomb abilities. Neither Tempest places a Neither Tempest on a target, dealing 47,000 damage over 12 seconds. Each time Neither Tempest deals damage, an additional 50% of the damage is dealt to a random target within 10 yards. I'm getting tired of talking to myself. Yes, every mage class has a bomb now. Frost and Arcane use Neither Tempest. I know that sounds weird, but I'll explain why here in a minute. And Fire uses Living Bomb. Living Bomb is the same, except I feel it needs a little bit of a damage buff due to the fact that these other ones do almost 50k, and this one does do 50k. And this one does 42 with the explosion if you don't chomp it, which happens, especially in PvP. I'm guilty of it myself. I try not to, but sometimes it just happens. So, and especially considering it doesn't go into our combustion anymore. I just feel it needs a little bit of a damage buff. Frost Bomb places a Frost Bomb on the target. After 4.65 seconds, the bomb explodes, dealing 51,000 frost damage to primary target and 25,000 frost damage to all the targets within 10 yards. All affected targets are slowed by 70% for 2 seconds. Frost Bomb's countdown and cooldown are reduced by haste. If this didn't have a cooldown, I could see Frost players using it. If it added some sort of buff for frost damage, I could see Frost players using it. But right now, due to the way it is, Frost players use Neither Tempest. Level 99 is our spell power buffs and mana regen abilities. These abilities are freaking awesome. I don't like the fact that they add spell power, because that just means that without using them we're doing less damage than we should be. I feel that they all should have some sort of passive, like Incanter's Ward, but I'll get into that in a minute. Invocation reduces the cooldown of evocation to 10 seconds, but you passively regenerate 50% less mana. Completing an evocation causes you to deal 25% increased spell damage for 40 seconds. It has the longest duration of the increased spell damage, but due to the other one's abilities, I don't see any player using it, honestly. Rune of Power places a Rune of Power on the ground, which lasts 1 minute. While standing in your own Rune of Power, your mana regen is increased by 100%. Your spell damage is increased by 15%. Only 2 Rune of Powers can be placed at one time. While standing in your own Rune of Power, you gain 1% maximum health per second. That's due to the glyph that I currently have equipped, the Glyph of Evocation, and replaces Evocation. This ability is freaking awesome. I have to show it to you right now. Basically, you have infinite mana while standing in this. PvE players are gonna love this. I mean, right now mages don't have mana issues as long as you watch. But with this ability, an Arcane Mage can literally keep Mana Adept at maximum and keep their charges almost at maximum. The only thing I wish they would do with it is make it so your healers or another class could stand in it and get mana back. I know that sounds like it'd make it overpowered, but since I haven't seen any classes that have replenishment anymore, and a raid intensive or a healing intensive fight and they go I think it'd be amazing for a healer to just kind of stand in here and get, I don't know, 50% mana regen instead of 100%. I just feel that'd be helpful. Not required, but whatever. In Cantor's Ward, this is more of PvP, but I could see PvE players using it just because of the passive. Places a magic ward on you, absorbing so much damage for 8 seconds. Absorb damage will restore up to 18% of your maximum mana. When this effect ends, you gain 30% increased spell damage for 15 seconds based on the absorption used. Basically, it's like Incanter's Ward, our old talent, except it has a passive now. Increases spell damage by 6%, increases mana regen by 65%. The effect is deactivated while Incanter's Ward is on cooldown. I really like Incanter's Ward because I can still keep my evocation and get health back from it. And I have another shield since they took our Mage Ward and our other shield, and Cantor's Ward. I don't remember. Mages had up to 3 shields as Frost Mage. But yes, that's Incanter's Ward. Alright, moving right along to our glyphs. I'm going to try to cover these really quickly because I've gone on and on and on, and I haven't really done anything but talk to myself. I'm not going to cover all of them. As you can see, there's quite a few. I'm just going to try to cover the basic ones that I feel offer the most change and the most value. Armors. Reduces the cast time of your Frost Armor, Mage Armor, and Molten Armor by 1.5 seconds. Increases defensive effect by each armor by an additional 10%. This is more PvP oriented. I'm going to tell you that right now, but I could see PvE players using it. Just because, since I feel most mages are probably going to sit in Molten Armor, reduces physical damage taken by 16% with the glyph. That's awesome. There's another... Nah, hang on. I'll just get there when I get there. Combustion increases direct damage, duration, damage over time affected, and the cooldown of combustion by 100%. Sounds more appealing than it really is. According to the target dummy, I was actually doing more damage with the 45-second cooldown one. I was doing like 57k, and then with the glyph, I was only doing like 49. It wasn't a huge difference, but it was enough that some elitist is not going to use it, or some elitist is going to prove me wrong, and whatever. This was just against a training dummy, not optimal circumstances. Cone of Cold, just going to touch into that. Since Cone of Cold no longer freezes enemies, you can increase the damage done by 200%. I feel that's great for Frost Mages, since they have to sit and cast, and it'll be kind of a deterrent to not go up on a Frost Mage. The Glyph of Counterspell. Your counterspell can now be cast while casting or channeling other spells, but its cooldown is increased by 4 seconds. I don't know if I'm going to use this glyph. I was testing it earlier. It sounds really awesome, but I do not like having the increased cooldown on my counterspell. I'll show you right now. I can casting Frost Firebolt. Bam. Counterspell. And that's pretty much that one. Glyph of Frost Firebolt. I'm just going to switch this right now because I've been having a long cast time. More than likely, PvE and PvP fire mages are going to use the Glyph of Frost Firebolt. Reduces the cast time of Frost Firebolt by half a second. That makes it have the same cast time as Fireball. However, Frost Firebolt, as you can see, does do a little bit more damage, and it adds a slowing effect. Since our Ignite now also procs with Frost Firebolt, you can see it in the tooltip right there. That means you're going to have bigger Ignites, which leads to bigger combustions, which leads to more damage. Not to mention, especially in PvP, you have a slow. I feel like Glyph is awesome, and all I'm going to say is Frostfire Mages are back. Kind of. Take it as you will. I like throwing slushy balls. Glyph of Ice Lance. Your Ice Lance now hits one additional target for 50% more damage. They're trying to make Frost Mages be able to be used in PvE environments with basically an Ice Lance cleave now. But yeah, that's about it for that one. Glyph of Polymorph. Instead of being able to spec into Polymorph, it's a glyph. Your Polymorph spell also removes all damage over time effects from the target, and that's just if you have a derp and they break your CC, or even in PvP and you need to CC someone real quick. That's what that's going to be for. Glyph of Elemental. I feel this has to be mentioned for Frost Mages. Increases the health of your water elemental by 40% and allows it to cast while moving. When in assist mode and in combat, commanding your water elemental to follow will cause it to stay near you and auto-cast Water Bolt when your target is in range. Basically, it takes the derp out of your water elemental, meaning your water elemental will not get stuck on boxes, not be near you when you need to cast a freeze. It just makes your water elemental so much more useful. And I just felt that had to be mentioned. Arcane languages, you can now comprehend your allies' racial language. Familiar is a pet. Crittermorph, you can polymorph critters for day. Illusion. Illusion is kind of cool. See if I can get an illusion right here. There. I'm a hobgoblin mage. Yeehaw. And that loud ding was my girlfriend coming home. So I'm going to wrap this up real quick. The only real one I want to mention is momentum. What that does is it allows our blink to work in the direction we're moving, not the direction we're facing. So if you want to be the backpedaling mage, which you should never do, you can now be the backpedaling blinking mage. I feel that's probably going to be a standard for mages. But if there's anything else you want to see, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.